Well, welcome back, everybody. This is part 2. You've already created the train body. Now, if you look at my drawing, we are going to be creating this train stack. This would be where the smoke comes out. In this case, I'm assuming this is a steam engine, so this would be where the steam comes out and is exhausted into the world. All right. So right now, if you're where I'm at, you likely have your train body activated, meaning that we have this little radio button next to the train body selected. So I do not want to click on New Component while this is activated. I want to make sure that my assembly is activated. So make sure you do that first. Come up here and click on the radio button next to the miniature train where you see the icon that looks like a bunch of blocks together. And then click on New Component. And we're going to name this Stack. And when you do that, you're going to see that the stack is generated as a child underneath the parent, which was our assembly. So now we have a new component. Notice how the train body now is kind of ghosted away, but it can still exists, but it's not editable right now. All right, let's get started. So in order to do the stack, I'm going to scroll to the drawing, which is right here, and I'm going to zoom in on that a little bit for you. Let's see here, zoom with, scroll up. It's nice and bigger for you at least. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to start by putting an axis through this hole so we have something to work around. So again, we're going to go to this construct window. We're going to drop it down and we're going to put an axis through a cylinder. And we're going to click on the cylinder once this window comes up. Hover until the cylinder here, this little hole, not the cylinder here, I should call it a hole. Make sure the hole is highlighted and click, and then you're going to see a little blue line that represents the center of that hole will appear. Click OK. Now we need a work plane, which are these orange things. We need a work plane that will go through this axis because we want to draw a sketch on a plane that intersects or goes through this axis. So click on Construct again, and we're going to use, we're going to use Plane at an Angle. Click on that, Plane at an Angle. Let me do that again just so you know, Plane at Angle. And then you're going to click very carefully on the blue axis. It's going to ask you at what degree of rotation, and it really doesn't matter, so we're going to leave it at 0 and just say OK. And now, you don't have to do this, but I'm going to show you that if I kind of zoom around, you'll see that it's just a plane that intersects the axis through the center of the hole. So now, you can click on Create Sketch and pick, very carefully pick, that orange plane you just created. Now we're ready to start drawing. So what we're going to do is we're going to revolve this part. So now look at the drawing in my lower right hand corner. You're going to notice, and you can sort of see my cursor here, you're going to notice this hatched region, which is the 45-degree angle lines. We're only going to draw this portion that I'm using my mouse to kind of show you here. We're only going to draw this portion here. And then we're going to use Revolve to wrap it around the axis. Wrap it around the axis. We did this last semester with a couple of projects with the Candy Treat project and stuff. So that's what we're doing here. All right. So what I'd like you to do is, using the line tool, we're not going to add dimensions at first. I'm going to start by snapping a point at the very bottom of the hole which is right here and in the very middle of the hole. So right there. And then I'm going to drag just to the right. Again, I'm not using dimensions yet. I'll dimension it when I'm done. But I'm just going to essentially draw what that little hatched region looks like. So I'm coming straight up. You might want to just watch what I do, and then you can always rewind the video. I'm going to come up, over. I would recommend watching what I do. Into the center, and then straight down. Okay. I am not drawing anything on the inside. I am just drawing the outside perimeter of this shape, and I'm continuing into the inside. So when you look at my shape I just drew, I am simply just trying to create a shape that looks like the outside of 1/4 of this shape. So I'm kind of tracing with my mouse the shape I just drew. Okay. Once I revolve this, you'll kind of see. Matter of fact, watch what I do. Don't do anything on your Fusion, because I want you to see why I did this. So don't do this. I'm gonna finish my sketch. When I hit revolve and I pick my axis in the middle, take a look at what that does. You see how it wraps it around the axis? So this is what we're gonna do. Obviously there's no dimensions on here yet, so it's the wrong size. But you can see, if I undo, how that shape, when I do a revolve, if I pick an axis, which is the middle, it sweeps it around. And I can even change how many degrees. I'm going to go 270 just to kind of show you. Now it looks like a Pac-Man on the top, but so that's why we're doing this. Okay, so I'm going to go back to my sketch. We're gonna hollow out the middle in a different step. So that's why I'm ignoring the stuff on the inside. Now let's add our dimensions. So now I'm looking at the sizes and the dimensions here. So the bottom, and I'm looking at this little diameter symbol of 0.5. So I'm going to click this line right here. Now most people, since the diameter down here says 0.5, most people would type in 0.5. But that's wrong. It's wrong because since I am going to be revolving this around the axis, it should be half of that. Half of that because it will double itself once it's wrapped around the axis. Once it loops around, that 0.25 will double itself. So anything that you dimension from the center to the outside in the direction I'm showing you with my mouse, you should divide by 2. But any dimension that moves up, you would not dimension or divide by 2. So like for instance, if I look at my drawing, 0.25 is how tall this should be. I don't want to divide that by 2 because I'm not revolving in that direction. Okay? As a matter of fact, this next dimension that I'm looking at with my mouse here is 1.5. That's going in the vertical direction. I'm not revolving in that direction, so I don't want to cut that one by 2 either. Now, watch what happens when I add this dimension. It kind of gets screwed up. You see how it pushed that geometry down too far? So if that happens, just kind of zoom out by rolling with your mouse. And then if you need to, I'm going to press escape to get out of this dimension. You can grab with your left mouse and drag that geometry up. Now look at what happened. Maybe I won't do that. I'm going to let go and I'm going to click undo. Undo. All right. I'm going to change that dimension back to 1.5. I'm going to finish all my dimensions and then I'm going to place it where I want it. So I changed my mind. All right, sketch dimension from the very top to here is 1.75. There we go. Now, when I look at my drawing again, let's see here. Ooh, look, this diameter, which I'm pointing with my mouse, says diameter of 1.25. So that's this point. Kind of look at where I'm pointing in my Fusion file. It's how far that ring comes out. So I'm going to click on that ring, and then I'm going to click on the center line of my part and drag up. And I'm going to type in 1.25, and then I'm going to click on the divide symbol, which is the slash mark on your keyboard. And then I'm going to just do 2, so divided by 2. And then there we go. Now, the only other dimension I believe I need is the angle of this little edge here. And you can see in the print it's 15 degrees. So if I click with Dimension Tool, if I click on this line, which is the angled one, and then I click on another line that's not perpendicular or parallel, you're going to notice that I get an angle option. So depending on where I'm measuring the angle from, this is where geometry is going to be very helpful. So if I click right there, for instance, 15 degrees, all right, would be relative to whichever surface you're measuring from. So like in this drawing, that's 15 degrees off of a vertical edge. So what I could do with this is, since I'm measuring it off of a horizontal edge, that would be 90 minus 15. So in that case, I would want 75. And then that gives me the same exact angle. So back to your complementary, supplementary angles from geometry. All right. So there's my 75. Now, I don't think I need any more dimensions on this. I'm going to press escape. I think it just needs to be locked. So I'm going to left click, hold, and drag and see if I can drop it to that point. All right. Right there. Okay. So there we go. It's still not solid black because if I grab this corner, it still moves. So maybe if I just kind of leave it there, and then I go up to this constraints. Do you see the picture of the lock? I'm going to pick that lock, and then mine automatically locked what it was highlighted, but if it doesn't, pick that lock and click that corner once you're sure that corner is locked to there, and then it turns black. All right, finish your sketch. Click on Revolve. If it doesn't automatically pick that as a profile, you might want to pick it. And then for the axis, pick the middle, that little middle line, and then click OK. All right. I'm going to rotate my model a little bit so I can see what that looks like. But now I have a stack, but it doesn't have the counter bore, we call it, which is a hole that has a large hole on the top and then a smaller hole in the middle. It's called a counter bore. That is the symbol and the dimensions for the counter bore. All right. So we're going to put all that data into our counter bore hole. So to make a hole in the top, we create a sketch. We touch the top of our stack. We're going to make a point right there. We're going to touch the center. Looks like I can snap to the center. Make sure that that center mark appears before you click to create the center point. Then I'm going to finish my sketch. Go back to like a home view or something like that. Click the little house. And then I'm going to go and I'm going to create a hole. Where are you? Where are you? There you are. Now watch this. I like this. It makes things really easy. If you go to where it says hole type, you'll see a little picture of counter bore, which kind of gives you the picture of the larger hole on top and the smaller hole going through the middle. You're going to pick that. Once you pick counter bore, then you're going to select the center point, which is right here. If I zoom in, you'll kind of see the counter bore preview, but we haven't put in all the data yet. Now, you can see the picture preview along with arrows showing you which dimension means what. But what you're going to want to do is look at the fact that there are two diameters, a large diameter and a small diameter. Now I've got a little diameter in here, that's this little hole, and I got a big diameter. So it should be common sense which diameter goes where. Here's my big diameter, which is 0.875, so I'm going to come over here and put in 0.875, and for my small diameter, which is right here, I'll put in the smaller number, which is 0.375. Now next to those numbers, it shows me my depths. So my large diameter depth is 0.375. So for my large diameter depth, 0.375, and for my small diameter depth, I get 1.5. So for my small diameter depth, follow the line, that one should be 1.5. All right, so now you get a preview of what that's going to look like. And I'm going to hit OK. Give it a second to calculate. Now we have a finished stack. There you go. All right, we're almost done. Okay, I know the geometry is done, but right now we have our stack activated. We want to go back to the miniature train. So click on miniature train, and now all of a sudden you'll notice that your train and now your stack are both activated. However, very, very, very important. Don't stop the video. This is important. Right now, these two parts are sitting in space, meaning that they can move. Don't do what I'm about to do, but watch. I can left click and hold, and look, they move. That's bad. Don't do that. Do not do that. If you did do that, shame on you. Undo. Okay? Here's what you want to do. This I do want you to do. I want you to right click with your mouse on the train body, and I want you to ground it. There's a button that's called ground. Boom. Now you're going to see a little pin. Now, if you left click and hold, you cannot move the train. You might say, do I ground the stack? You could, but I would rather you use a joint. Okay? So the joint that you're going to use is under the Assemble menu. And if you go to Assemble, what you're going to do is you're going to go to the joint. You're going to click it. Once you have a component grounded in space, now you can create joints between other components. So the first step is to go to Motion and determine what kind of joint you want to make. Let's say this was a toy, and this fit into that hole, and you wanted it to spin. All right? That is what we call revolute, meaning, and if you look at what it says, a component rotates around a joint. All right? So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to click that, and I'm going to go to Position, and what you're going to do is you are going to zoom in, you're going to hover over the part, and while you're hovering and when you click, make sure, and you're going to notice this, that in addition to the component, you're also going to get like a little round circular point that appears, and that point that you click and select, like that, will be associated with or connected to the other component and point that I click, like that. And notice it's going to give you a little preview of what it's allowed to do. And in this case, it's allowed to rotate. Now, you can also, in the middle of this command, if you wanted to, change the position in space, you could do that, but I don't. I like where I had those joints connected, so I'm going to change that to 0 and say OK. So now if I left click and hold, I can spin. It's hard to tell because it's not, you can't see it with the graphics, but I'm spinning this right now. Okay? All right, but I can't pull it out of the joint, but I can spin it. All right, now everything is locked. The body is grounded, and this is able to rotate. All right, thanks for watching. 5 stars, or likes, or whatever YouTube stuff is. I don't even know. Make me viral, guys.